All right, so our final topic here is what is your sacrifice? You actually kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. But what is your sacrifice? So Beyonce in the third verse says, I don't care if they give me life. I get all of my life from you. And if loving you is a price, and if loving you had a price, I would pay my life for you. It's another hard line right there. So the question is, at what point do you determine what you're willing to sacrifice for your relationship?
Great question. Great question. When you see a glimpse of what your future can be, you would sacrifice it all if you're committed.
And it doesn't feel like a sacrifice.
It doesn't. It's part of the process.
Right.
It's good. It's bad. It's warm and fuzzy. But there's a goal.
Right.
There's a goal. We've been doing it from the beginning.
Right.
We lived in an apartment, Riverdale Road, and we knew we wanted to elevate and go into things for years. We were just driving through expensive neighborhoods on Saturday and just look until that time became. So you pour into somebody and they pour back into you. You don't even realize you're doing these things. You don't even realize you're converting as a couple, as a unit into, from we just cool or we just dating or we just a couple to, a stronger commitment, a stronger vibe. Yeah, that's special. That's important.
It is very important, but it doesn't feel like sacrifice at that point. It's just I'm pouring into my relationship, and the gifts that come, as a result of what you may refer to as sacrifice, you get them elsewhere. You get what you should have elsewhere. So it doesn't really feel like a sacrifice. I think, when you're looking at what you as far as your relationship, what you're pouring into, I hope to not sound like this is all, rainbows and clouds and things like that. But the reality of it is when you're in it, and the relationship is growing and you're really looking at, man, this is what I'm working towards, we are working towards. You don't even feel like it's a sacrifice. Like the things that you thought were important to you before, they're no longer important.
Right.
So it's not really a sacrifice if you're giving it up or you've made changes to not give it that same attention, because it will come elsewhere. Yeah. And everything that we do is not connected to us,
right,
of course, but our outside interests or things that we do work in conjunction with our relationship. They don't take over. They don't get in the way of. They don't do any of that. So there's no sacrifice at this point. In early stages, it could have been seen that way because we were operating separately, But once we started to realize that, hey, you're for me and I'm for you, and we're doing this together, those outside interests that we had or were pursuing may not have fit our relationship and what we were trying to build, and so we made changes, and it didn't feel like it was a sacrifice. I don't miss anything that I may have given up however many years ago when we were dating.
Someone poured into us in the beginning, and you don't even realize it's a gift, and then you evolve into something, and it's us doing the same thing now.
Right.
It's giving back, pouring into a newer relationship, and say, this is what to expect. This is the path that's going to happen. This is the roadmap. It's a sacrifice. It may take me a couple of conversations, a couple of visits. It's a sacrifice. You're not even realizing it's a sacrifice, but you're pouring into something else or someone else. It feels good because someone did it to us. Someone did it to us. We were dating for our boyfriend and girlfriend for years, and I don't remember the lady's name. We were doing some business financial, and she told us, she said, young man, she's a very pretty lady. You need to hurry up and marry her. And lady, I don't even know you. We good over here, right?
Right.
But it was that moment, that intervention that didn't even come. We wasn't expecting that, and we did it shortly after that. This is right. This is right. You don't invest that much time in someone and just say we're just going to be, a couple. No.
So what would you say to, a lot of times I deal with a lot of women clients, and a lot of my women clients currently are newlyweds, and they're all having that same narrative. I feel like I've sacrificed so much, right? They've lost their self in the marriage and the relationship, and a lot of times we see a lot of women who do that. They give their entire selves, they become a whole different person, a person that's unrecognizable to them. So in their sense, that sacrifice does have that negative feeling behind it, because they're not in agreement with what they're giving up for the relationship. So what would you offer of advice to them to say, hey, I want to be in this relationship, but I have to give up things in order to be in this relationship, or even to be a mother? There are certain things that other women have to give up and things like that.
You have to look within yourself. Like, that's a character thing within yourself to understand that I still want to be me, like in this relationship, because who you're dating or who this relationship with is you, the essence of who you are. If the relationship changes you to somebody that's unrecognizable, that's something that's within you. You know what I mean? For me, because there were times in my marriage, in my relationship, where I felt like I wasn't me, but that was a me thing. It wasn't a him thing. It was a me thing. And once I got back in touch with the essence of who Stacy is, it made it easier for me to get back to who I am. He's married to Stacy, and so he needs to understand that he's married to Stacy. You know what I mean? And that's how that goes. And that's just who it is. We are made up of who our families are. I know some women have given up, relationships with family members, and friends. Those are a big part of what makes us who we are.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we have to just kind of understand that I feel bad for women that feel like they become somebody else. You kind of have to get back in touch with who you are and understand that this person that you're in this relationship met you. You know what I mean? They're not dating who they want you to be, because if that's the case, then you might not be with the right person.
Right.
If they're trying to make you somebody else, they're not with you.
Right.
So once you understand that, and it takes some soul searching. It's not like I woke up this morning and I'm back to being who I am. It takes some soul searching, because you don't want to disappoint this person that you're with because you really like or love this person. But if they are trying to make you someone that you're not, you're long term, you're not going to be happy.
Right.
You're going to be miserable long term. And if you want to be happy and healthy, you have to look at yourself and who you are and what you're bringing to the relationship, and not what you're doing to make this person happy.
I also think along the lines of that, you have to factor in it's a new union that's going to require a lot of attention, which is going to form a sacrifice. Something is going to give, because you guys now are here. So the other things you did would have to probably not get as much attention, because you have to grow this. And this is it's 24 hours a day. It's forever. You're growing this. Not saying you just totally forget about the other things that you're attached to, but this union has to grow. So if this union's going to grow, there's going to be some alterations needed to elevate this. If you just say, okay, we're married, we're newly married, and I want to just be newly married and still have these other obligations that's changing us, there's a possibility the marriage is going to fail. There has to be some balance.
Right.
It has to be a conversation, an execution, and executed properly. Balance that out. Yeah, we're married and we now go over here together, what we used to do, or we're married and we're going over here together, what we used to do. Not just, I'm married, but I'm still going to do what I was doing before I took those vows.
Right.
It has to be a balance.
Right. I think that's kind of what I'm hitting at. Sometimes you can't blame your relationship for why you're not yourself anymore. Because there's some place in the road where maybe you made a decision that wasn't healthy for you, for the sake of saying, I have to make this relationship work. I have to become someone else that's not me. And then you know what I mean? And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. It happens even to the best of us. We start changing and we're like, this is not even me. And it doesn't even stick.
Yeah.
It's just like you go back to being, you feel like you need to go back to being who you are. And who you are is usually not a bad person. You know what I mean? It's just that you have to go down, you have to stick with the core of being a healthy you in a relationship, in a healthy relationship, both parties. And as far as the having babies, that, you know, that's something that would absolutely change you. I mean, there's just no getting around it. You're going to have babies, and it's going to just change your perspective. It's just going to change everything that you do. A baby is not a person, accessory to take on and off. It's going to change your thinking. It's going to change the way that you act. It's going to change the way you approach things. And that's just a natural progression in life. So for women that feel like that, you know, once I had my baby, this and that happened, that's what's going to happen. You just don't go back, because that's just, it's an extension of you that you're responsible for, and your total mindset should automatically. It happened for me instantaneously. I don't know. When I became a mother, I no longer thought about my life before I had a baby. It changed instantaneously, and it wasn't easy, but it just happened. Nobody had to tell me this was going to change. You know, your parents and things tell you your life is going to change. It happens, and you feel it, and you have all these months where your body is telling your mind that your life as you know it is not the same. It happens. But a lot of women want their lives to go back to the way that it was before they had a baby. You know what I mean? Where the baby kind of looks more like an accessory. Like, I want to pick up my child, and you know, I want to get her dressed up, take her to the park, and do this and that and the other. But I still want to do my thing, and that's not how that. You know, you just kind of have to understand that your life, in that sense, will change. It will change.
I believe too is, you know, how we talk about keeping your head down, and just working, right? So, but that only works when you know where you're going.
Right.
And I think sometimes, speaking with some of your clients, that they may get to a point where they just have their head down and work in a relationship. I'm trying to please my husband, trying to please my boyfriend. I have these kids, I'm trying to please mom. And then when they finally look up, they're not. They're lost. You know, so it's like you're so far behind, and so now you're like, how do I get back? You know, here to this person. And that was almost insurmountable. You know, so. Yeah, too is, so one thing I thought about actually the other day is, you know, we talk about sacrifice and just the tonality of it and just the context of it. And I thought about, like, for me, whatever I've sacrificed something that I needed. Right. So it's like, when you think of sacrifice, you have to think of, I'm losing something by nature, but I'm not losing what I need. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm only losing what I may want, you know, something that I may be attracted to or something I may enjoy doing, but it's not a need going forward. Right. I think that we have to make sure that in our relationships that we have to, as it relates to sacrifice, just think of it as, this is something I'm going to need going forward. It's not going to be, I'm not sacrificing anything that I'm going to need for the journey. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like, and if you're asked to do that, separate from my family, or, you know what I'm saying, or like, I've known people to be on a certain career path, and then next thing you know, they get with somebody, and now they're not doing this career path, and it's like, what happened? I thought that this was your passion, I thought this was your purpose, you know what I'm saying, this whole thing. So, you know, regardless if a dude says, Chris, I really don't want you talking to these patients anymore, these clients, I really don't want you counseling, like, like, what you talking about? You know what I'm saying?
But then that goes to what you're saying about self. Right. You got to be strong within yourself to say, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I want to do, and to know, hey,
support me.
Right. And that goes back to support. Right. Yeah.
All right, so for some parting gifts here, the first one says, it is utterly and totally unreasonable to believe that you can have anything of great significance without sacrifice. People see sacrificing as losing something, but we're often only asked to sacrifice that which is not needed for our progression. Your priorities should be a clear depiction of what cannot be sacrificed. That is our dynamic show here. Oh man, our music and love date party with a very special guest.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
The wives giving jewels to all of our viewers.
How do we do?
Oh, amazing.
Excellent.
Yes.
If
yes.
you are, this should be shown in high school. Colleges, you know what I'm saying?
Root cause, daycare. Because take it to the daycare. That's where they start with these little things.
Right.
High school, it's probably too late because they already know what they're doing. They're snatching it out. They know what they want to do, right?
Oh, we definitely appreciate you all, of course. This is Crystal Farrell, Leslie Crystal Clear, our relationship specialist. I am One Nate, the DJ conductor. We will see you next time.